And hello again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Giants Guys. I'm John Fennelly, and with me again today is Craig Santucci of NYGiantsRush.com. Craig, how are you on this fine, hot Friday?
I'm pretty good. It's good to be back. The Giants guys are back in the lab, cranking out some content, and I will say it's a little bit slow out there, in Giant Land.
It is so slow. I've been reading some of these blogs that some of these kids write. They have no idea what they're writing about to begin with because they don't have firsthand knowledge of anything. Some of them have never played football, coached football, worked in the NFL for any team or anything, and they're just coming up with these crazy stories. And just assuming,
Don't get me started. That you get a lot. I always used to get a lot of flack for.
But you know what kills me? My stories go out there. I get vetted stories. I get information. So do you, because you get it from me a lot of times, right?
Yep, of course.
And Dan and a few other guys, and we have to write what's true. We have to write. I can't say this is what I think. I think we're gonna. No, I have to have some kind of basis of knowledge to write that. Otherwise, my editors are going to say, "Where did you get this crap from?"
Right? Yeah. How about this? I write a piece from firsthand knowledge about playing the sport, going to camp, playing on turf in August when it's 100 degrees. Awful. What it takes to actually play. Listen, I didn't play Division I college ball, but for what? I always say that they're better. Division I athletes are better than Division II athletes and Division III athletes. I played with plenty of athletes over the years that didn't want to play at big schools or didn't want to sit on the bench for a couple of years. I played with plenty of D1 athletes that decided to play, close to their home where they could start right away. And unless you have that experience, it's really hard to write something from a position of strength. Because you don't know what it takes to go to camp. Now, am I putting those people down? No. But sometimes they're like, well, this guy's going to get traded. This guy's not going to make the team. None of that stuff happens. It's not reality. Yeah. Economics still runs the, through the veins of the NFL. Mm-hmm. Economics is how the game is made. It's a business. It's not a sport as it used to be. Now it's who costs what. How much money you have, who fits in that system for those dollars. So all those crazy scenarios, listen, who cares we're going to play Eli Manning $20 million? Put him on the bench. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
It's not their money. They don't care.
Exactly. Nobody's going to pay a guy $20 million to carry a clipboard. Can it happen, through the course of the season? Yeah. But at a camp, unless something absolutely stunning happens, Eli Manning is the starting quarterback of the New York Giants.
Yeah, we know that. And that's we can beat that. That's a dead horse as far as I'm concerned. They got to start him mainly because they kept him. Okay, since they kept him, that's the commitment right there, and the monetary commitment. Even though it's only for 1 year, but every game he plays, he becomes less valuable. He becomes less of a financial liability. So that's when they have to figure out what the cutoff is going to be. If they're 6-0, he's not coming out.
No.
I don't know. I don't think they'll be 6-0, but something like that.
The only way he's coming out is if they're 0-6.
Then it's over
if
for
the
him,
team is, if it's 3-3. When remember the team went, what did they go 0-6 last year or something crazy?
1-7 at the turn, yeah.
Yeah, 1-7 at the break. So if he's 3-3 in the first 6 games, it's status quo. It's moving on.
Yeah, I think they'll make the break at some point because, like I said, when you take a quarterback at 6, he's got to get some run as a rookie somewhere. So they'll be looking. They'll make the right decision here. I think they have an idea what they want to do. But if they start surprising people and winning games, it's going to take a little bit longer to get Daniel Jones in the game.
Yeah, and they've got a chance to win some games.
But you know what they also could do, Craig? They could also put him in situationally. put him in and take Eli out, for a play here or there, and let him run a few plays, because they could use his legs, they could use his mobility.
Yep, and maybe, I mean, we all say maybe, that, if you're up by, 17 points in a game, you let him come in and run the 2-minute offense at the end of the game. Or you let him come in and give him a series. It's not out of the question if you're going to bring him along slowly, still with Eli trying to finish out the year. I still think there's a real good opportunity for him to get some snaps.
Yeah, that's what we'll see in camp. You'll see what happens when they run the first team offense. Of course, Eli will be out there first, but then see how fast Jones comes in with that first team offense. How many practices in is it going to take? How many times in the preseason, let's say Eli gets the first 2 series, and then the third series, Jones comes out, and they keep the first team offense on the field.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Point. So that's what you got to watch out for.
I'm sure the kid's got a live arm. I mean, he's 21 years old.
Yeah, he could. So, I think he can do it. The problem I had with him is where they picked him and how they managed this draft. I think they really screwed up, and I was biting my tongue in between rounds, the end of round 1 and the end of round 3 when they had no picks. And you're watching all these great football players flow past you in the draft, and you're saying, man, how come he didn't get back into the second round? And, they gave up some picks. They gave up 3 picks for DeAndre Baker. And to me, I think that was a little steep. I think they overreacted there. Did they really want this kid that bad? We'll see.
Well, I look at it like this. Gettleman, in my eyes, like listen, I'm going to give Gettleman some slack or some rope because he's not Jerry Reese, and Jerry Reese had years and years to fix this team, and he didn't. So I'm going to give Gettleman, his ability to build his team, over 2-3 years. But because he did not take a pass rush specialist or a 3-down defensive end or outside linebacker, I'm glad he got a couple DBs because there's no choice at that point. If you're not going to rush the quarterback, at least you can have some decent DBs. I mean, they can only cover for so long. They're going to get burned sooner or later, right? But if you went into the season with no pass rushers and still Jenkins, as your only star corner, at least there's potentially three more star DBs on the board at least, because the real move was to get a defensive end or an outside linebacker that can rush the quarterback, but you didn't. So at least they didn't ignore the back half of the defense.
Yeah, it was kind of strange the way they managed it. Once they leapt at Jones, who I think, and people keep telling me, you don't know. Well, of course I don't know. Nobody knows. The Giants don't even know. That's why they took him at 6. But other teams seem to think that the Redskins had no intention of taking him. Miami had no intention of taking him, Jones, before 17, and they could have got him at 17. So I'm going to go to my grave saying Josh Allen, then Daniel Jones, and at 30, okay, if you want to trade up, you could have got Dexter Lawrence. I think he was taken too early too.
Lawrence, or even who was the other best? Bush?
No, I'm talking about at number 30. If you wanted to trade back in to get, or you could have waited. I don't think Lawrence was going to go.
Well, that one's going to be tough because he was the number 1 D tackle on the board, right?
No, not necessarily. There was some other guys that went ahead of him, and there were some other guys that went behind him. This kid Jeffrey Simmons was taken. I think Tennessee took him. But he's not going to play this year. But there was guys rated higher than him. Remember, Lawrence was kind of hurt on and off the field last year. People didn't like his size and think his durability. He had first round potential, or early first round potential. So I think they could have still gotten him later in the first round, but then they wouldn't have Baker.
Well, my issue with Lawrence is that he's a big man. He's got a screw in his foot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a good
Never.
thing. I just, like if you're going to draft a guy in the first round, you're hoping that he's a specimen. He doesn't have any dings on him. I mean, at least in the short term, you want him to be healthy. Like I don't know if a 300+ pound guy, it's got all that pressure on that foot. What does it look like next year? What does it look like in his contract year?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still
he's not going to lose weight, I think, over the course of his career.
Correct. Yeah. So so it does worry me where, when you could have drafted a guy who didn't have an injury or doesn't have a screw in his foot, you stand a whole lot better chance of success. So we'll see. We're in it now. We can't change it. So at least moving forward, there's definitely more talent on the field this year than there has been in quite some time. So that's good. The defense is on paper. The defense is vastly improved. And listen, the name of my site is NYG Giants Rush. Rush is purely because we've all been pass rush fans. From JPP and Kiwanuka and Strahan and Tollefson and Tuck and on and on and on. George Martin and the rest of the crew. So we've always been fans of pass rush because we've always had a great pass rush. So we're hoping that this year, this kid from OD, whatever you want to call him, X-Man, he's got an uphill battle coming from a small school. First kid drafted out of Old Dominion ever in program history. I mean, not that that's that long. OD's only had football for 10 years. But if this kid turns out to be a diamond in the rough, that'll make Gettleman look like a genius. But I really do hope that between him and Golden being healthy, that there is some pass rush.
Yeah, I think their pass rush will be better this year. You know what it is? It's about knowing your responsibilities, and anybody on that defense can rush the quarterback. That's what's good about that defense. You have safety blitzes, you have corner blitzes, and they have a lot of talent in their back seven now. They can have middle linebacker blitzes. They really have to get guys like B.J. Goodson going, or he's going to be out of the lineup. Ogletree could rush the passer. It all depends on what they feel they can get where they feel they can get a mismatch. And I think that's what Betcher is good at. He just didn't have the horses last year. Then they started trading guys away. And then you had Nate Stupar playing linebacker. And you saw how that worked out.
That is a problem.
And, their secondary was a mess, too. I mean, I wrote a piece that they probably, guys they shouldn't have gotten rid of.
Well, listen, we can all agree. One thing all Giants fans agree on is they should have never gotten rid of Adams. Never.
He was one of the guys. He was one of the 5 guys.
Hands down, that kid can play. They made a mistake there. I have no idea why they got rid of him. All Giants fans that know anything about Adams over the last 2 years playing for the Giants. Correct. 100%. The kid could play, and there was no reason why they, gave him his walking papers. There's just no reason for it. Besides, he wasn't one of Gettleman's guys.
He was. He started 16 games, I think, in 2016, and then he only started a few last year. But, he fell out of favor somehow, and he didn't make the team. He didn't make the team in favor of Darian Thompson.
Riley. And Curtis
Riley.
Riley.
Well, hold on. Then Thompson got hurt. They didn't keep him either, and that's how Riley became the starting free safety. He looked good in practice, but then when the game started, woohoo. And then they kept him out there for 16 games.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother story. I do want to back up and say something. I can't prove this at all, and I'm prefacing I cannot prove this at all. But when that whole thing went down with Geno Smith and Eli, Thompson, I think his first name is Darian
Thompson.
Darian Thompson had a really unique quote that he put out there that I think helped him get his walking papers too. He wasn't a great tackler to begin with. He wasn't the ball hawk he was supposed to be. But when the Geno thing went down, he basically said, "I've got no allegiance to Eli Manning. Put whoever you want in the game, long as they're going to win." And I don't think that sentiment was what the organization wanted to hear from their players. They wanted the players to just keep their mouths closed.
Right.
And I think that might have also contributed to him getting walking papers.
Yeah, and the fact that he kept getting hurt.
Oh, all the time.
He was hurt again last year. They cut him. He ended up on Dallas. Andrew Adams ended up on Tampa Bay. He had 4 interceptions for Tampa Bay, and now he's with Detroit. So he's with the other guys the Giants let go. We're talking about guys they let go, not guys they traded. So you're looking at Devin Kennard. Yeah. I know they had enough of Devin Kennard, but he's really playing well in Detroit, and so is Romeo Okwara.
Well, Okwara was definitely someone they should have kept too. I don't like or dislike Kennard. I just feel like he was either in the wrong system or they didn't know what to do with him because he never shined. He went to Detroit and he had like 7, 8 sacks.
When they let him rush the passer, that's when he was effective, and they never let him do that. They put him in as a 4-3 outside linebacker, and that wasn't his game. He likes to get into the backfield, and they had him playing in space a lot of times. It just wasn't his thing.
But Okwara definitely was a good body, Notre Dame guy. Had value, and you get rid of him for a couple of the guys they kept. Definitely was a head scratcher there.
Yeah, they should. And the other guy that I mentioned, the first guy I mentioned was DRC, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. Now you had to get rid of him. You had to cut him because they couldn't afford him. But the Raiders signed him. Then he retired halfway through the season. So he's out there. Game 8, he's out there. You get him for the league minimum. They didn't do it. And look at the second. They had B.W. Webb. The guy played okay. But after Janoris Jenkins and Webb, they had no cornerbacks. 0 experienced cornerbacks. And they got toasted in the second half. Look at how their defense fell apart.
Yeah, at the end of the year, they had like Lippett starting.
Yeah, so you get DRC out there. He could play slot. He could play outside. The guy's a pro.
He could probably even play safety.
And yeah, that's right. He could also play, nickel or whatever. Why didn't they have him? Why didn't they just sign him? Because they didn't like him because he probably stole money from them. He did make the Pro Bowl one year, right?
Yes, he did. And
stole money. I mean, he was overpaid.
Yes, yeah, correct. Yeah, they're again. That's a locker room thing. That's a Gettleman thing. DRC's a little bit vocal. You got, whatever the reason, snacks, whether it's money.
He's vocal
age.
on the field too.
Oh yeah, but vocal on the field's a good thing.
That's what they needed. They didn't have him. They had Grant Haley out there, undersized. Played well, played a little bit, passed over his skis, as they say. But Jenkins didn't really do it in the first half. It looked like he didn't want to be there, right? And Webb was an overachiever. If he was so good, why didn't they sign him back?
Yeah. No, I listen. I like DRC. Like, regardless of the baggage he comes with or not. Like, in fact, I'll go as far as to say, for a guy who's a veteran, been in the league for quite some time, he still gives maximum effort on the field. I mean, I think that one game he pulled his hamstring. They taped him up. He tried to come back in.
Yeah, he's a gamer.
Yeah, like I think at one point there was some conversations that him and Spags were getting in an argument because Spags didn't want to put him back out there. Like DRC will still make an open field tackle at whatever he is, 30
Unlike Curtis
years
Riley.
old. Unlike Curtis Riley. Well, Curtis Riley couldn't make a tackle if the guy fell down right in front of him.
If you remember the Dallas game, Blake Jarwin, the tight end, no one knew who this guy was. And
that guy had like 3 touchdowns.
He had 3 touchdowns, and one of them, Riley has him right in front of him and just lets him walk in the end zone.
Oh, I totally remember that. I almost lost it.
And everyone's looking at each other like, did the whistle blow? The other guys on the defense are like, wait a second, what happened? Did the whistle blow? Is that play good? And it's good. You're not good. That's the problem.
He didn't even try. He didn't even try. Yeah, that was an embarrassment. Yeah, so I don't know why they didn't bring DRC back. I guess you could make the assumption it's, locker room issues or too vocal, as you.
But he wouldn't have cost them anything.
No, it wasn't about money. It wasn't about money, no.
So they wouldn't have cost them anything. But, they want their guys, and gets back to our point where you have to see who's making what, whose contract is up, this year, who Gettleman drafted, who's he investing in.
Well, Jenkins is going to have to go out there and have 6 interceptions and 70 tackles to stay on this team.
Yes.
Because it's built right now that Beal will go to Beal becomes maybe the slot. Baker goes to one side, and what do you call it's on the other side?
Well, the way I looked at it, they're gonna if they're not doing well in the first half of the season, Jenkins is gone. They're going to trade him. Okay, there's no sense in keeping him, so they'll trade him because they almost traded him last year.
Yep.
And they didn't get what they wanted. This year they'll take what they can get for him. If it's a 4th rounder, they'll take it. They have Beal on one side, Baker on the other, and they have Julian Love to play the slot with Haley. That's enough. They also have this kid Valentine, and they have plenty of guys back there.
And they have the kid they drafted in the 7th round. The kid whose roommate tragically got killed. Yeah, and if he makes the team, I'm sure he could play a little bit of slot or dime.
Yeah, if you look at their depth chart, they have numbers back there. So if they're not doing well, he's gonna go through the same exercise he went through last year. He's gonna get rid of the guys that are either making too much money or that he didn't bring in himself.
Yeah, that's Gettleman's move, no doubt.
That's what you're going to look at. Now, if the Giants are in contention, they have to keep Jenkins.
Well, I will say he was a model citizen last year. He was a little quiet in the beginning of the year, but I think he wants to be here.
Once he didn't get traded, I think he realized that, you know what? Now I'm happy here. And that's when he started to play better.
Yeah, and he had some off-field issues going on with his brother.
Yeah, there was some things going on there, but he really had nothing to do with it. So
no, I just meant I can't speak for the poor guy. Who knows what that's like? Dead body in your house in another state. Brother turns up killing the guy. Who knows how that affects you, to start the season,
no
right?
No idea. But that could have been part of his issues too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not making excuses for him. I believe it or not, I'm kind of rooting for him. You know what I mean? Like he's not my typical corner that I like. I like a little more grittier of a corner, but he still could pick the ball off and cover with the best of them.
Yeah.
He's still, he's not old. He's not young. He's in a sweet spot. I'm rooting for him. I wouldn't mind him to stay if the Giants. So the last number I looked cap wise was $70 million. Without anybody getting cut or anybody getting traded, the Giants are at $70 million under the cap. Without anything changing, like a snacks going or like last year. But I wouldn't mind Jenkins staying. Yes, I'd like the youth, but my thing is, I don't know anything about Baker or Love.
Nobody does.
Or Ballantyne. We haven't seen him play yet, so I'm comfortable with Jenkins staying if he has a good year.
Yeah, but like I said, they may not want to reinvest in him.
Yeah, I can see that too.
He does not hold the secondary in high regard. He doesn't want to pay somebody that kind of money. So that's why he's trading for a Jabril Peppers and a signing of Bethea, and hanging on to Jenkins because they need somebody out there.
Yeah. Well, I'd like him to see he's an old school guy. Get him some linebackers. We haven't had linebackers in a decade.
Well, that's what I wrote about today. I wrote about one of the camp battles will be inside linebacker, not Ogletree.
Yeah. No, Connolly versus Goodson.
Connolly and Tay Davis versus Goodson.
I don't see the Tay Davis thing, but
hold on,
I
Tay
could be
Davis
surprised.
was splitting the reps with Goodson in minicamp.
Yeah.
So he was out there, and he actually finished the year with a lot of reps on the inside. But he also spelled Ogletree when Ogletree couldn't go. So they like Tay Davis because he plays very well in space. Goodson does not.
No. In fact, Ogletree surprised a lot of people with his, 4 to 6 interceptions last year. Played well in coverage. He definitely kind of fell off versus the run.
But by doing that, he sacrificed what he does best, and that's making tackles in a box, making tackles at the line of scrimmage and in the backfield.
Yep.
So they took that away from him because they made him play in space. And if you were going to trade for Ogletree, you got to play to his strengths. Why are you doing that?
Yep.
He looked kind of out of sorts.
He did look out of sorts. You could see he was over pursuing a lot of stuff, kind of getting pushed aside sometimes. He wasn't meeting the back in the hole. So, but I like Ogletree. Like, I know he gets a lot of static. I like Ogletree. I like what he did for the Rams. I think he's going to have a bounce back season. And if he's got a young guy like Connolly next to him, I think there could be something good there.
Yeah, they have a lot to sort out in training camp. Although, I think they have a lot of guys who are kind of on the same baseline talent-wise. So it's going to be tough to make cuts. A lot tough. It's going to be a lot of tough cuts this summer, especially when it comes to like offensive line, defensive line. It's going to be difficult because I don't know how many offensive linemen they're going to need to carry because they have Solder coming off injury, they have Remmers coming off injury, right? Who else do they have coming off injury? One other guy. The center, Halapio.
Yeah. P.O. didn't get paid though, where Pulley did get paid. So Pulley seems like to me it's his job to lose.
Yeah, I think he'll probably start out as the number one center, but I think they really want Halapio to win the job. They're hoping. I mean, he's an insurance policy, Pulley. Because they think the upside comes from Halapio. But, that offensive line, there's not a lot of depth at tackle. They've got a little depth at guard. But, there's not, they have to take 9. They have to keep 9 because of the injuries. There's a lot of teams keep 8, which is not enough, in my opinion. But I don't know who those 9 are going to be. You know who the starters are supposed to be.
Yeah, and then you've got...
And then you have Pulley, so that's 6.
And then you've got Wheeler and you've got Big George. That's 8.
Right? And you need another tackle. So, who's that?
No, actually, I think...
oh, no, I'm sorry. You need another interior guy.
Yeah, because your tackles become Remmers, Solder, Wheeler, and Big George.
Right.
And then your P.O. Pulley center, that's 6. And then Hernandez and
Zeitler.
Zeitler is 8. You need another interior guy to make the team.
So that could be this guy O'Hagan, the kid from Buffalo, University of Buffalo, who's a center. It could be this kid from last year from, what was he, from Ohio State? Nick Gates? Is he from Ohio State? Or Nebraska?
I'm going to look it up. I think it was, I thought it was Nebraska.
No, he's Nebraska.
Could be right.
I'm sorry. He's from Nebraska. I mean, they have a lot of guys they like. Some guys are going to end up on the practice squad, some of the younger guys. And some guys are going to end up on all the teams' rosters or whatever. But, Now, somebody asked us a question about the practice squad.
Yes.
Now,
So
did you
that
look
is
that up?
true. Yeah, I'm looking at
The
them now.
exact
That's
rules?
Leo. Yeah. So hang on. Let me get to the question. Okay. It says one. Okay. Twitter question from Leo Duggan or Dugan. I'd like a better understanding of the practice squad rules and options.
I think most GMs would like that too. Most fans would.
Right,
Just
so
put a guy in a practice squad. You do have 2. There used to be 8, now there's 10. So let's start with that. You got it?
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. As I was going to ask you, what's the timing on practice squad when you could put a guy on and when you could pull him off?
No, it's you're talking about a rookie, first year player, anytime. You can put him on anytime. Practice squad is like a revolving door. They are not really. They're under like a certain contract criteria that's not NFL. The NFL sets it, but it's not based to the salary cap or tied to the salary cap. It's a separate entity. We used to call it the taxi squad years ago. You're on the taxi squad, which means we're paying you to be here less than a normal player, and if we need to activate you, then you get paid the full rate.
So let's see here. Practice squad salary requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start off with the money. Practice squad players earn a minimum of $7,600 per week, which totals $129,200 for all 17 weeks of the regular season. Note there is no maximum practice squad salary. A team can pay a practice squad player however much they want to entice the player to stay on their practice squad. Practice squad salaries do not count against a team's cap. Right. I did not know that.
No, they don't. Like I said, those guys aren't really on the team.
Yep. Eligibility. In short, all rookies, draft picks, or undrafted have practice squad eligibility. Yes. So do most other young players.
Talking about accrued seasons, I think it was the cutoff was 2 years. Accrued seasons. I'm not sure if that's changed.
Let's see what else is on
You're allowed
this
to have
list.
2 guys who qualify as veterans.
Yeah. Second, each club will be permitted to sign a maximum of 2 practice squad players who have earned no more than 2 accrued seasons for free agency credit.
There you go. See, I knew something.
I know you nailed that perfectly. A player who has earned 1 or more accrued seasons will not be eligible for the practice squad unless the player spent fewer than 9 games on a club's 46-player active list in each of his accrued seasons.
Accrued seasons.
Accrued.
Yeah, so there's a lot of guys out there like that, but you're only allowed to keep 2 of them. So that's great for a lot of guys who are out of work players and really should be on a team. There's some guys who are coming back from injury. They put them on the practice squad. It's hopefully they'll work themselves back into shape and maybe they can put them on the roster. Now the thing about the practice squad is what a lot of people don't understand is you can't take somebody else's player off a practice squad and put them on your practice squad and vice versa. If someone claims a practice squad player, they have to go on their 53-man roster. Okay, so if you have room on your roster to keep a guy, you can claim anybody's practice squad guy, and the team that has them basically can't match that unless they're going to put them on their roster. So that's how that works.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here now where it says all practice squad players shall consist of the following. They have not served more than 2 previous seasons on a practice squad. Players do not have.
Yeah, you can't park a guy for 3 years on your practice squad. Like the Redskins used to have like 125 guys on their roster. They had it under contract.
Free agent players who were on the active
Giant,
list.
if you remember.
Oh yeah, right. Anyone that you can pull off the squad because for injury wise, I think they should expand the regular season count anyway. What do we have? 54, 53?
I always said it should go to 60. because you're going to end up dressing 60 guys, 60 different guys at some point anyway.
I'd be happy with 57. You know what I mean? Like, how often, like, you're scrambling for an extra body or two, right?
Yeah, and it's just better for the game. And if you want to have, and I think your day of the game cut should be 51, 52. This way you have some latitude there. I mean, why are we so stringent on those numbers?
I have no idea. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes no sense.
Why have a club scramble for players and only go out there and hire some guy off the street? Just give him an extra body or two. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I've said it for years, and it's something that's going to be negotiated in the new CBA that's coming up next year. Or in 2021, rather, not next year, but they'll start negotiating. They're starting already, but
I'm
trying to avoid that. There's just too much money on the table here for them to have any kind of work stoppage.
Here's the last part of this practice squad.
That gambling is starting to be legal in a lot of states, and daily fantasy is so much money involved in that, and they are actually advertising for the leagues. So there's a lot of money circulating around the sport. You can't stop the games now. You can't do it.
And by the way, if you're listening to the Giants guys, the DraftKings are eligible. If you'd like to sponsor the Giant guys, we'll take your money.
Yeah.
Let's see.
DraftKings, FanDuel, I'm not a big fan of, but I like DraftKings.
Okay.
To me, it's easier. FanDuel started to create different types of games that are kind of like prop bet type of things, rather than who scores the most points. The general fantasy, how fantasy was formed. The more traditional fantasy is like DraftKings, but FanDuel has like prop bets. All of a sudden bonus points and this and that. Who's going to score? What player is going to score more than another player?
Coin toss.
They don't go that far, but yeah, they're on their way to that. How long the national anthem will be?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, is it going to rain or is it going to be sunny? I was just reading some of the detail stuff. Third season. Eligible player might be a practice squad player for a third season only if the club by which he is employed that season has 53 players on its active roster. So there's definitely some.
There's some exceptions, but you rarely see a guy on a practice squad for 3 years.
Yeah, practice squad players are paid per week and be released at any point during the season. Not all players are eligible.
It's a week-to-week contract.
Exactly. That's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's what you're getting into. I mean, when you sign the contract, hey, I can be gone next week. So you take your $7,600 and
And what we didn't mention is, in order to be signed to a practice squad after being released, a player has to clear waivers
initially.
All those teams that if you're listening out there, or hope we're answering the question for you, but that's something people forget all the time. You can't just go sign a guy. He's got to clear waivers. All those teams have to have a shot at him.
Yeah, and the waiver wire for the first 4 weeks is the same as the previous draft order. So last year, the Giants were second. Cleveland was first. Giants were second. So any player that was released, the Giants had second dibs on the guy. And that's why they picked up 5 guys.
Yeah.
That's where they got Pulley and Antonio Hamilton and Mario Edwards, a few other guys.
Yeah. Now, here's the best thing about being a practice squad player. If you're signed to an active roster, you're guaranteed to receive a minimum of 3-week paychecks. So, if you get signed, what's that?
Yeah, you got a job for 3 weeks. Exactly.
You got a job for 3 weeks. So if you sign to an active roster, you're looking at about $24,000.
Well, if you sign to a practice squad.
Yeah.
The thing about practice squads, I think what a lot of people don't understand is these guys, when you go to the practices or whatever, you go to the facility, they're just the same as every other player. They're out on the field. They have a number. They just extra guys that they use in practice because, some guys don't practice. If you remember years ago, O.C. Umenyiora didn't practice 3 times a week.
Yeah, he was banged up.
They kind of dry docked him. They let him go out on the field once a week if he felt good enough, because of the knee and other issues. So that's where the practice squad guys come in because, you need to run special teams. You need to have, a lot of bodies on the team to run a full practice. Sometimes you're running an offensive drill, you're running a defensive drill. You don't have enough guys. If guys are hurt, guys are,
And if you can't simulate blocking schemes and strategies, you're in trouble.
So they're equivalent to extras in a movie.
There you go. That's a perfect analogy.
They don't really have a speaking part, but, you see their face.
Yeah, they get a credit in the movie.
Yeah. So that's the end of that. All right. So I'd like to see some of these guys end up on the practice squad. And you know what the thing is that you don't necessarily when the final cuts come and guys clear waivers and you're looking to sign guys to your practice, you're looking at all 32 teams. You're not just looking at the guys you released. You're looking at all 32 to sign back to your practice squad. So that's another difficult exercise come September 1st or whatever the day is this year that the personnel team is got to be, have to.
All right, I got another Twitter question.
Sure.
This one comes from the UK.
Oh, good. I love the UK. The Yankees are there.
Yeah, man.
Now.
Yeah, that's right.
The Red Sox, yeah.
So this is Gosman. Gaza is his tag. It says, thanks for the summer shows, keeping me connected over here in the UK. His question is, who gets better numbers this season, Tate or Shepard?
Interesting. Who's always had better numbers? Tate. But now he's in a different scenario. Shepard has kind of been consistently lower than Tate. And Tate has never really been a number one. He's been kind of like a co-number one with Detroit for a while. And, when he went to Philly, in Seattle, he was, I guess he was like a number one, but they didn't throw the ball that much. I'm going to say Tate.
Interesting.
Because he gets open. And you can't deny him. He's productive.
See, I'm going the opposite route. I'm going Shepard because his numbers have improved every year he's been on the team. Every year, yards per catch has increased. Yards have increased. Mm-hmm. So he's going in an upward trending way.
No, I agree with that.
So I'm kind of leaning on Shepard a little bit because, as you mentioned, Tate gets open. So he may require maybe the number one DB is going to maybe picks up Tate. I think Shepard. But I think Shepard has it. Okay, I'm going out on a limb here for Gaza here in the UK. Thanks for listening to the Giants, guys. I'm going to say this year will be Shepard's first 1,000 yard receiving year.
Okay. We're talking about receptions. I think Tate. Targets. What about targets? Think about targets. Tate gets more. So Tate's going to get into more targets.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see Tate getting more targets, but I think Shep with the ball in his hands, he's got 10, 11, 12 yards per catch. Mm-hmm. So I think the yards goes to Shepard. I could see the targets going to Tate.
Where are they going to line up? Is one of them going to end up being a slot receiver?
I think that Tate goes to the outside, Shepard stays on the inside.
Okay. So you think a slot receiver is going to be more productive than a wing receiver?
Because the wing receiver is not really a wing receiver.
He shouldn't be out there. That's what you're saying.
No, we don't have a burner or a tall guy. You don't have.
Oh, yes, we
listen. Do. Who's that?
The tall guy is Latimer.
Latimer?
And your speed guys are Coleman and Slayton, the rookie.
Well, we don't know much about Slayton. He's, his hands can be a little subject.
That was one practice. He's been good ever since.
Yep, I know. I know. Coleman. I mean, look.
Let me tell you something. You ever see Coleman You always think he's like this little guy who's.
Oh no, he's tall.
He
lanky.
is built.
Yeah.
He looks like he's been working out. He's built. He's ready to play football. This kid.
Wow.
No, I'm serious. I mean, he's ready. He's going to be a special teamer, and they want him to be successful. They want him to challenge for a spot on offense. Latimer, I think, can be a very good receiver. In crowds. I think that he can fight for the football. He's a strong guy. He's a very tough football player. I think that they need him. I think that he might start, like you said, Shepard, and then him. He'll be on the outside, and Tate will be on the outside, the other side.
Not that I'm calling him.
Talking about starting. Starting means you play the first series.
Correct. Yeah, he's a tad under 6 foot. He's like 5'11" and a half. So he's not tall. But he's only 185 pounds. So he, like you mentioned a minute ago, he's pretty shredded.
Yeah.
So he's really lean, and it actually makes him a little look taller than he is. He's got a 1.5 base salary, so he's affordable. It'd be great to see him, make something happen. But again, you're still talking about Latimer and Coleman fighting for 3 and 4. Most of the snaps on the outside are going to either Tate or
Then
Shepard.
there's a wild card in there, a guy that they really like, and the more I watch him, the more I like him, is that Benny Fowler.
Yeah, I know. You said that a couple
weeks ago.
I
don't know why. He just looks smooth. And he's another guy who's cut. He's not a little skinny guy. I mean, these guys can run. They're strong. So, they're underrated. So when they let Odell Beckham go, I was like, give some of these other guys a chance.
Well, Fowler's. I got to look up how tall Latimer is.
Latimer's almost 6'3", I'd say.
Fowler?
No, Latimer.
Yeah, because Fowler's 6'1", so he's taller too.
Yeah, just take a look at these guys running around in T-shirts, and you'll see, they hit the weight room. They're not going to get bounced around out there. They're strong. Like Slayton needs a little beef, but he's skinny. But he's just got here. Give him a year.
Yeah, Latimer 6'2.5". He's still young. He's 20. He's only 26. I always thought Latimer was older than that. He's not.
No, and that's why when they signed him back, I said good move, because the guy's a great special teams player, and he's completely focused now. And he's also a good receiver. We saw the end of the season when they started to use him. Could make some big plays.
Yeah, it was a shame he got hurt.
Yeah, it's good. Good player. I mean, it's good move. You want guys that are going to, go out there and play the game and not worry about extraneous BS. Like other guys who aren't here anymore.
And and for the record, Latterman was a second-round pick, so he has the skill.
Yeah. When he went to Denver, he kind of got buried a little bit. And then, of course, he didn't play well, so... when his contract was up, they didn't renew him, and you can see that.
Yeah, he's never really had a breakout.
Every team has guys like that wash out, one reason or another.
Yeah.
But they realized the error of their ways, and a lot of guys don't get a chance to do it. He's gotten a chance to do it. Coleman's gotten a chance to do it. All right, and you like some of these reclamation guys, because they have a lot to prove. They said, you know what, I'm not going to blow it this time. I'm going to do everything I need to do to succeed.
Well, Coleman's been on enough teams. I don't know how many more chances he's going to get.
Well, New England took a look at him and sent him packing. I don't know what happened there. Cleveland gets rid of everybody. I mean, Cleveland's given guys. They gave us Zeitler. They didn't have to do that. They gave us Peppers. They didn't have to do that. I mean, Gettleman asked for those guys. Said, okay, I'll take it. And they just said, okay, we're getting Odell Beckham. He's like, yeah, that's right. You're getting Odell Beckham. We'll take these guys who are going to, slam every play for me. Peppers is going to be a huge impact on the Giants' defense. I watched him at Michigan. This guy is a tremendous player. I don't know what he was doing in Cleveland. Oh, he underachieved, blah, blah. Okay. Again, now he comes to a new team, new defensive coordinator, new responsibilities, new focus. He's matured. He's still fast. He's still strong. Now he's smarter. What do you think is going to happen here? And Cleveland, nobody knew what was going on in Cleveland.
Well, every career dies in Cleveland.
I don't know what's going to happen there this year. I'm not rooting against them, but I see disaster written all over that. And look at Zeitler. I mean, he never made a Pro Bowl, but he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. If you look at his numbers, if you look at Pro Football Focus's numbers, this guy is all PFF every year, but he's not in the Pro Bowl. The reason why is because he's on Cleveland. I know Joe Thomas was there, and he was a Pro Bowler every year, but that's because he's Joe Thomas. Tackles are easier to spot. Guards on bad teams are not easy to spot.
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, not that I'm not a Pro Football Focus guy, but
if somebody could tell me what the stats mean, I might enjoy it more.
Well, you don't want to know what they mean because they made them up. But beside that, Zeitler is a student of the game. You could just see he's coming to play ball, and this is his chance. Listen,
he's
Sean O'Hara,
rough-looking guy, man. I mean, he looks.
Oh yeah,
he is built like.
Yeah. He's a
Hernandez
like a
is
brick
short.
wall.
Hernandez is like 6. They say he's 6'1". I don't think he's 6'1". He might be 6'1", but this guy is every bit as big as he's listed, and he's a strong son of a gun.
And remember, like guys like Sean O'Hara from Rutgers walks on to Cleveland, plays a couple years, comes to the Giants,
he walked
and he
on
makes
at Rutgers. Sean O'Hara. I remember he told me the story, and that's why he has that scholarship. He has that Sean O'Hara scholarship for Rutgers.
And his career basically does nothing in Cleveland. He comes to the Giants, and he's a multi-Pro Bowler. So most guys' careers die in Cleveland.
Yeah. I wish they had Pat Flaherty back as the offensive line coach. Because he was just a very, very – and now he's in San Francisco, but he was just a very good offensive line coach. He knew how to take guys and structure them and fit them where they belonged. He knew how to develop. Hal Hunter, he's been around a long time, and he's not a bad coach. I mean, we've knocked him before, and I take it all back because I don't think he's that bad. But he's got a little more talent this year, so I think their offensive line will be better. And with a guy like Zeitler, he doesn't need to be coached up.
So here's the
Hernandez
thing about
doesn't need to really
Zeitler.
be coached up anymore either.
No, but on the Zeitler topic, so here's the thing I don't understand about Zeitler. Guy's 6'4", 315. Guy doesn't even have a lot of body fat on him.
I would say his body fat is 0, where mine is like 50%.
yeah. I mean, he's definitely like a specimen for a guy this big, right? What I don't understand about a guy like Zeitler, and this is not a knock on him, this is just me not grasping, what happens is that. He's with Cleveland for 4 years, drafted by Cleveland.
No, he was drafted by Cincinnati.
I mean, sorry, I meant Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals draft him in the first round, right? I mean, he's a first round pick by the Bengals. They only keep him kind of like the Giants do. They keep him for one season and they turn him out. Cleveland picks him up and he only plays 1 year. Like. I'm amazed that Cincinnati let him go, and then I'm amazed that he only got one round with Cleveland. They didn't see more value in him, like you said. Gettleman asked for Zeitler, and they're like, "Yeah, take him." So I'm just kind of curious, why he didn't, stick with the Bengals.
Well, and with the Bengals, it's always about money. That they're not going to pay anybody. With Cleveland, they had drafted a kid last year, right before Hernandez. What the heck was his name?
For the Giants?
No, Cleveland. They drafted a kid from Nevada who was a tackle. And now I think they wanted to move him to guard because he wasn't playing tackle anymore. So that made Zeitler, who was making $10 million a year, expendable. So that's what happened there. I think he got pushed out. It was another monetary issue, but it was because their second-round draft pick last year, they wanted to move him to guard. He was better at guard than tackle.
Because when the Browns signed Zeitler, he signed a 5-year, $60 million contract. Yeah. He was the highest-paid guard in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, like I said, they turned him out. So I'm just kind of curious if this is a guy just caught in two bad franchises that don't like to pay their players.
That's a possibility. The first one, yes. Cincinnati, absolutely. If they know they're going to get outbid in free agency, to immediately give the guy up. They'll take the draft choice.
His pre-draft measurables, he benched 225 32 times.
Yeah. And probably stopped because he got tired, man, not because he couldn't do it anymore. It's like, do I have to keep doing this?
Yeah. He's a big, strong dude. If he can be what Brown was and then last year and then a little bit more, Barkley's going to run crazy.
That trade that they made with Beckham, and people say, whoa, they didn't get enough. I'm like, you're not looking close enough. You're not looking close enough at all. Okay, Zeitler, well, they got rid of Vernon. Who cares? They were going to cut Vernon.
Yeah.
We know they were going to just cut him.
Don't get me started.
Okay, remember, they were going to cut him. If they couldn't trade him, he wasn't coming back no matter what.
No, yeah.
They were going to have to release him and eat the money because they didn't want him here anymore. Who wants a guy that's going to play 11, 12 games for that kind of money? So anyway, look at the trade they got. They got Zeitler. They got Peppers. Okay? Then they got 3 draft picks. Right? Or 2 draft picks. Lawrence and Zimenez, the X-Man. Plus, they got a lot of money towards the cap. So, with Beckham's $15 million of each of the next 4 years, how many guys are you going to sign with that money?
Lots.
You can sign one really good player, right? Or you can sign, I don't know, 7 or 8 half-decent guys. You could fill out your roster. And that's just for one guy. I'm not counting Vernon because they were going to cut him. He wasn't going to be here no matter what. They weren't bringing him back this year at that money. And he wasn't taking a pay cut. You know that. Everybody's a businessman, So a lot of people look at that trade. Oh, we got rid of Beckham. First of all, he's been hurt 2 years in a row. Second, he's a major league distraction, and he continues to be so, even though he's not on the team anymore. All you see is him on, if he goes off social media, he makes an announcement that he's going off social media.
Well, to come full circle, I think you got your money's worth with Zeitler.
Yeah, if it was just Beckham for those 2 guys and 1 draft pick, it's worth it. But they got 2 draft picks, okay, and all that money they're going to spend. So this could end up being 5 really good guys, 6 really good guys, or 10 players for 1. Remember the Herschel Walker trade?
I do very, very well.
Could be something like that. Maybe not as. And who did Dallas ended up getting with the Herschel Walker trade? They got a whole bunch of guys. I think Emmitt Smith may have been one of them.
Was it that? Was it? Are you sure?
I'm thinking. I don't know. I could look it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna look
Keep
it up.
Keep talking. I'll look it up because I have the transaction database.
Well, I was going to tell you that, rookie year for Zeitler, he only let up 4 sacks the entire year. The kid can play. He's going to be in a big market. People, will notice him now. And he's going to step into the shoes. Listen, Brown stepped in last year and changed Barkley's rookie year. If Brown wasn't there and it was still John Jerry, I don't think Barkley would have had the year he had. Brown steps in. All of a sudden, you get a big push. Barkley's running between the tackles instead of bouncing it outside. So you get better production out of.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think Zeitler, does it. I think he pulls a Sean O'Hara. He walks in, big market, people notice him. Barkley's running for 2,000 yards in a season. They're looking at, well, what's different, and it's Hernandez, Pulley / P.O. and Zeitler. I think he makes his first Pro Bowl right with the Giants.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's going to be a higher profile. Now I'm looking at the Herschel Walker trade, and I'm looking at the exact players that got picked with that. Okay, so the Cowboys traded Herschel Walker, but they also traded a 1990 third-round pick, fifth-round pick, and 10th-round pick, and a 1991 third-round pick to the Vikings. So it ended up being 5 players. Jake Reed ended up being one of those players.
Wide receiver
for the Vikings, right? And then a couple of linebackers. So it ended up, but Walker didn't work out for them. So that was the big thing. So that's why people think they got ripped off. But here's what Dallas got. Jesse Solomon, Davey Howard, Isaiah Colt, Darren Nelson, Alex Stewart, and then the draft picks. Eric Green, Dennis Brown, James Williams, Pat Harlow, Darrell Lewis, Eugene Chung, Matt Blunden, and Kevin Turner. So it wasn't really any Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame guys coming back in return. But it was just the volume. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They filled out. They had nothing at that point. That was 1989, October of 1989. So they had nothing. So they immediately got 5 guys for one for that year. And then they ended up getting, 7 more draft picks, which they turned into, feasible players, guys that were good players. Walker didn't work out. He ended up on Philly and the Giants, right?
Yeah, that's right. He played a year with them, with each. Jesse Solomon, I kind of remember him being okay.
Yeah, but it's the volume. It's the thing is that they got all pro players out of it. If you have a dead roster, and that we know the feeling with the Giants. You can get bodies, professional football bodies in return. You take it, because you're not going anywhere with the superstar that you have. You're not going anywhere. So, what we need guys that can play all kinds of positions. We have holes all over the roster, and you can just plug that and then continue to build through the draft, and free agency. That's a good head start. That's a good leg up. So that ended up being a great trade for Dallas, and not so much for Washington, not so much for Minnesota. There you go. There you have it.
You don't see many of those things.
No, but I think this can be a lot like that. It could be a lot like that. And I think they've already gotten more quality than the Cowboys got for Walker.
Yeah, and not to get sidetracked on Walker, but I was just looking at his stats. The
One
guy
of my favorite players, by the way.
Really, it's interesting because I he's a unique individual, no doubt about it. But what's amazing about Walker is the guy played 11 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And out of 11 years, and a guy of his caliber, only 2 seasons over 1,000 yards.
What about total yards, though? He was more than just a rusher.
He could catch the ball out of the backfield. Total yards, he's 12, 13. He's around 13,000 yards.
Okay, that's not bad.
He rushed for 8,200. He received for almost 4,900. So again, it's a lot of yards, but I'm amazed that he only had 2 seasons over 1,000 yards rushing.
He wasn't a world beater. He didn't have any real great seasons. Where you could say he's the best player in football. But, everybody knew that, he potentially, he was one of the best talents in football.
His best season was 1988. He rushed for 1,500 yards. He had 5 touchdowns, but then he threw another 500 yards in receiving and another 2 touchdowns. So he wound up with 7 touchdowns and 2,000 all-purpose yards.
Right.
So he had that one blip, and then believe it or not, 88.
He should have been doing that every year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 years later, believe it or not, in Philadelphia, he has a spark where he does 1,100 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns, 278 yards receiving, and another 2 touchdowns. So that's what's that? So that's 1,300 all-purpose yards and 10 touchdowns for Philadelphia. So he had a spark like 3 years later, and then that was it. He had 2 big time years, and then the rest of them were all average.
Yeah, and it's just that he was an amazing physical specimen. It still is to this day.
Yeah, no doubt.
Doing the
how do we get talking about
doing the 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 push-ups thing a day works for some people.
How did we get all the way to
because
Hershey?
of the Beckham trade?
Oh yeah,
and people keep saying, "Oh, they traded him. They traded him." I'm like, I don't miss this guy. Especially he only played half the games the last 2 years, and when they had him, and he played a playoff game he was terrible in.
Well, it's interesting because, like, I'm a Beckham guy. I don't talk about him anymore because I think he turned his back. He got traded. It was a surprise to him. I remember the day it happened. He was crushed. He was hurt, and because he thought he was untouchable, and they gave him his pink slip, and then since then he's been nothing but bad mouthing the Giants. So I don't even talk about him anymore. I really don't. Like, so I got an 11-year-old with Beckham fat heads on his wall. I'm trying to think what to do to pull him down because my son still thinks he's cool. But, like, I'm just at the point where I'm like, I want to peel him down and, put something new in its place because, maybe Barkley, you know what I mean?
That would be good,
put something in it. Yeah, put something in his place because, it's tough when you take away a kid's hero, but the guy turned his back on the team. So I don't usually talk about him anymore, because, like, you're right. There's nothing good that comes of it. He didn't take it in stride that he got traded. We all know he was hurt. That he was hurt that he was traded. But it just bad mouthing the Giants about, all that stuff. So I've kind of moved on from him, and just, hey, look, whatever it is, he's gone. He's not a Giant anymore. I'm hoping Tate has a great year. Shepard has a great year. Barkley has another good year. And, the team is slowly rebuilding in the right direction. So at the end of the day, we're kind of what we always were. We're more of a lunch pail type of team right now.
Yep. All right. So I think we've gone over once again. And
we do
for a show about nothing, because we really don't have anything. It's like the Seinfeld episode. The show about nothing. You have anything else you want to add?
Well, let's see. So it is a little slow out there. Check out nygiantsrush.com. One of my writers, Michael, just it's a small little blog piece he put up there about Will Rod Smith's presence cut into Gallman's touches.
That's what we're down to now.
Well, yeah. In the off season, you're asking questions like, you know who the starters are. You know what I mean? So I think it's okay, who's the backup? Is it Gallman? Is it Rod Smith?
Or is it Paul Perkins?
Paul Perkins, John, I love you. Paul Perkins is not making this team. All you Paul Perkins fans out there are insane.
I'm not a Paul Perkins fan, but the coaches have been raving about the guy because he's never played for them, and now they're finally seeing what he can do.
If you're listening to the Giants guys right now, I'm going on record that the guy will be cut. He is not an NFL back. He is too slow. He cannot hit the hole fast enough. I watched every down he had for the Giants, and as soon as he touched the ball, the linebackers were on top of him. He has no burst, not even like a half a burst. He's got no burst. I mean, listen, the kid is a spectacular kid. Everybody loves him. I remember watching him at UCLA. I remember him interviewing when he was coming into the draft. But the sad part is if he can get into the second level, he's shifty, right? But he's got no burst, especially if he has to go laterally. If he has to move laterally through a hole, it's literally like he was running backwards with cement around his arms. It's just the difference between a quick trigger athlete and a non-quick trigger athlete. I can't do it, so I'm not knocking him. He's not an NFL back. I mean, either A, make him part of the team like they did with, a couple of these other guys like Charles Way and Jesse Armstead and those guys, make him part of the team, or let him go play for the XFL with Hakeem Nicks because he's not an NFL back.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel now?
Listen, you wanted to spice the Giants guys up a little bit in the offseason, right?
Yeah, I don't care if the guy makes the team or not, because if somebody else has to run the ball besides Saquon Barkley, something went wrong outside of spelling him.
Yeah, that's 100%
they just
accurate.
and Ron Smith is here because I think he plays special teams. He's a good special teams player, and maybe he'll get a little run on offense. But I think Goldman's the backup.
Yeah, I mean, Gallman did not have a great year last year. Like I said, if you look at nygiantsrush.com, you'll see the piece there. Kind of breaks it down a little bit. It's not overly in depth, but it gives you enough of a taste to say that if Rod Smith came in and had a great camp, they're not going to cut him. They'll keep him, because he's a different style back. He's a little bit more bruising, he's 230 pounds. Gallman's like 215.
But special teams is like a priority for Shermer and Gettleman. They want to have the best special team. They almost did last year. I mean, the punt return game is tough. You got to find the right guy. There's very few good punt returners in this league. And they're still trying to find the right guy. But the kickoff coverage, the kickoff returns, the field goal kicker, the punter, everything was much improved last year.
I would agree with all of that.
So they want to build on it.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, we've had Tom Sullivan,
Tom Quinn, and he's still there. He's still a coach.
Yeah, but oh man, don't even say it. He's kind of on the back end side.
He's the assistant special teams coordinator. He is.
Man.
He is. McGahee's assistant. When McGahee was once his assistant.
Yeah, and the only thing that Quinn must have is dirty pictures on somebody, because it's just I don't know how that guy's there.
I'm gonna give him a break because I don't think they had the right personnel to play special teams for a long time under Tom Coughlin, and that was Coughlin. It wasn't his issue because he wasn't getting the guys. Reese wasn't giving him the guys. You're giving me guys that can't play. They're giving me Adrian Robinson and James Brewer and Jarrell Jernigan. These guys can't play special teams. And I got to put them on my bench. I've got to dress these guys.
You just gave me cold sweats thinking about.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could throw a J-Ron Hosley in there.
Oh, J-Ron Hosley, they drafted him. This is what Jerry Reese says. He's 5'9" and change, but he plays bigger than he is. I love that part. And his specialty at South Carolina, I think that's where he was from, was returning kicks and punts. And what do the Giants do? They don't let him return kicks and punts because he fumbled a few.
And by the way, he was 178 pounds. You can't play. You can't play DB in the NFL at 178 pounds.
Yeah, he looked like Muggsy Bogues out there.
Seriously. So anyway, you can find me at NY Giants Rush on Twitter. Be more than glad to debate, have a conversation about whatever you want. Check out nygiantsrush.com. We've got some pieces up there. Michael Stewart, we call Michael B, Spiro. The guys are pumping out some stuff. They're trying to. Right now, it's really hard to find a whole lot of things to grab onto that isn't being regurgitated by everybody else. Right. So, they're looking for some angles to find some new stuff. But camp's coming soon. I usually send someone to camp, and they usually do some good pieces. Stay tuned. We'll be, you're listening to the Giants, guys. Don't forget, you can download us, Stitcher.
Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're on it. We're on all those platforms. And don't forget to read G-Men HQ, my new website, which is on Fansided.
Nice.
And everything's going okay so far. Right now, it's just me. I only have like 2 other guys writing. There's a stable of like 12 guys. They all emailed me and said, I'm going to write this year. Okay. Haven't seen or heard it from anybody, but so far it's just me. But once July starts, you'll start to see.
Oh, yeah, they'll be coming out of the woodwork.
We'll start to see 2-3 pieces up there every day. Yeah, so.
Yeah, no doubt. Don't forget the Giants guys will be back. We're trying to give you as much as we can. So thanks for listening.
Okay. Until next time, this has been the Giants guys. Have a good summer.